Rajiv Gupta es el exgerente general de la compañía Hewlett-Packard, además del coinventor y gerente general del proyecto HP eSpeak del año 1999. Fue uno de los desarrolladores de la arquitectura IA64. Realizó su máster de Compiler Optimization por el Instituto de Tecnología de California, Caltech, en menos de un año. Gupta fundó Confluent Software, donde desarrolló el producto que hoy conocemos como Core SV. También es el fundador de la empresa Securent y participó en el desarrollo de Bothtree Consulting Ltd. Como consejero tecnológico. En el año 2011 fundó Sky High Networks. La escuela Next IBS ha aprovechado su visita a nuestro país por trabajo para hacerle algunas preguntas sobre su trayectoria profesional y otras sobre la comunicación o problemas en el mundo empresarial y actual. Rajiv, eres un ejemplo de emprendedor y supongo que gracias a tus startups. ¿Cuánto ha cambiado tu vida en los últimos 10 años?
So I've been an entrepreneur for longer than 10 years. In the last 10 years, I guess my life has changed in that I have been fortunate to work with some really good people. So I have a very good team that I've been working for more than 10 years now. And because it's the team that I've been fortunate to work with, it's because the technology has been changing so rapidly that we can now become better enablers for other people to leverage the same technology. So like the whole cloud computing case. Today, anybody, anywhere can become a participant in the cloud economy, right? They can create a new cloud service, they can have the cloud service be used by anywhere in the world. And it's very empowering to be in an industry where you can help so many people. As I said, participate in an economy like the cloud economy, which is growing very rapidly. So in the past 10 years, it's the availability of the kinds of people I can work with. It's the ability to work with across different geographies around the world. For me, I've lived a charmed life, so I really feel very privileged that I've managed to be in this industry for this long.
Con respecto a ese equipo de trabajo, ¿cómo es la comunicación? ¿Todo el mundo tiene una opinión?
Actually more than opinion. In fact, in my company, what I tell all the employees, so we have our all hands where the entire company participates once a month. And in every all hands, I remind people of the company culture, because I think culture is very important. I mean, culture is how you behave when no one's looking, right? And it'll live longer than any of us. And I remind people of the company culture. So we have culture aspects like integrity and trust, respect, accountability, and so on, transparency, and so on and so forth. But there are two aspects of culture that I remind people about all the time. One of them is what I call the spirit of ownership. What I tell the people I work with, that whether you have 10 shares or I have 1 share, doesn't matter. We're all owners of the company. Because what we're spending here is the most precious thing we have is our time. And maybe when you get older, you start to realize the value of time. So because we're spending our time, which is the most precious thing we have, I tell that we are all owners of the company, and we have to behave like owners, which means that when we think something's not right, we have to voice it, right? And so people not only have a voice, but they are required to share that voice, and that's worked really well. The other aspect of the culture is one of humility. That I think it's really important for us to be humble, to know there are things we know, but also to know that things are going to change and things we don't know. And so we should never get the arrogance that we know everything, because that's the first indication that you're going to not do well.
Acerca de la nube, has dicho que cualquier persona en cualquier parte del mundo puede hacerlo. ¿Piensas que es una oportunidad para la gente de crear sus propios negocios o empresas? ¿La nube da una nueva visión de negocio o nuevos conocimientos?
Absolutely, absolutely, and we see that already. So there are people creating these cloud services, and like I said, participating in the cloud economy in massive numbers. You know, there are people in all over the world creating these cloud services. There are people all over the world consuming these cloud services, and because you have this technical foundation, whether it's Amazon or Azure or Google, whatever it is, it has really equalized the opportunities for people to participate in this. So absolutely, we're seeing that in the consumer space. We're certainly seeing that even in the business space.
¿En el futuro qué ves? ¿Grandes compañías o más bien pequeñas y medianas empresas?
That's a really good question. So the definition of a company is changing, right? So even what used to be a big company is now a number of kind of smaller companies that are working together. In many cases, even the individual employee is almost like an independent company, like a contractor, right? So I think we'll certainly have, you know, big companies and small companies, but I think it's how you behave and how you choose to operate and how you interact with each other. That's going to be consistent whether it's, you know, in a big company or a small company, right? And I think that's really good. I think we all need to take that sense of accountability. We all need to feel like we have a role to play in the future of what we do, and it doesn't matter if you're working for a big company or a small company. I think you'll start to see more of that for sure.
¿Crees que las nuevas tecnologías están cambiando las relaciones entre las personas?
Again, for sure, you can see that, right? So, I mean, back to the point you raised, cloud is important. In fact, IDC, the analyst firm, they said the impact of cloud will be more than that of the PC 25 years ago. So if you think about it, you had the industrial revolution, right, with steam engines. You had the information revolution. And what we're saying is the cloud, the impact will be even more than that of the PC, right? So cloud is important in and of itself, but it's also an enabler for social, for mobile, which are all affecting how we communicate, right? So, you know, I have two daughters, 17 and 16, and the way they communicate is so different. You know, even so, we send messages. They don't send messages. They do a Snapchat, right? So instead of typing hi, they take a picture of themselves, and that's how they communicate. It's fascinating to see how we communicating with each other.
Para ti, ¿ya está todo inventado? ¿Estás trabajando en algo ahora mismo? Quizá prefieres guardar el secreto.
No. I think it's the other way around. I think the pace of invention is actually increasing. So it's not like everything is invented. I think because we have so much to build upon that we are inventing and innovating things even faster. So I think anybody who thinks that the pace of innovation is slowing down is probably not looking in the right place.
Con esta crisis económica mundial, cada vez más gente está tratando de robar dinero o datos bancarios a través de Internet. ¿Es esto correcto? Por supuesto, tengo que basar esta pregunta en tu empresa de ciberseguridad, Sky High.
Right. Yeah, it's absolutely true. I think we're seeing that hacking went from a case where the hackers were just trying to prove how smart they were to it becoming a business, to now it's becoming in some cases, nation-state hackers, right? So it's sponsored by nations. To it's now in certain cases it's a full-fledged profession where there's a hierarchy, there's a CEO, and all of that, right? So yes, hacking I think is here to stay. You know, it's human nature. Greed is part of who we are, and now with the tools and technologies, I think people are getting better in some sense, are getting more efficient in hacking. So that's here to stay. I think the important thing is that we can't do it with hacking. It's how do we protect ourselves? We need to be aware of what's going on, right? So even in cloud, be aware of what services are being used. It's being aware of which services have the appropriate security controls and which don't, so that you can use the services that will that are more safe from hacking. And then C, it is just being more aware in terms of how you use these services, right? Maybe leverage third-party services like SkyHigh, but not only SkyHigh, to make sure that your data that you store in a third-party cloud service is protected from hacking. Maybe it's encrypted in a way that even if someone hacks into the system without the key that you own, they cannot get your data, right? So I think, you know, like in every situation, there's going to be people who get more and more efficient in hacking, and then we need to make sure our defenses are stronger, right? And so this is continuing. It's not going to slow down, but hacking is here to stay. And I think the sooner we realize that it's here and we take the precautions, I think the better off we'll be.
Recientemente pudimos leer en los periódicos cómo Obama espiaba a los gobiernos.
Well, in that particular case, that's government-sponsored espionage, right? And what's interesting is it seems like it's happening all the time between governments, but that was exposed by Edward Snowden, right? So which is good. But I think it made people aware where we were probably just blissfully unaware or ignorant about what is happening in the world. So I think that was one of the reasons why you have the Data Privacy Act, DPA, in Europe. And I think DPA will make sure, or the intention is to make sure that the personal data of individuals is safer from snooping eyes, whether snooping eyes are hackers for profit or hackers by the government.
Como sabes, en nuestra escuela de negocios Next IBS hay muchos estudiantes extranjeros. ¿Podrías darles algún consejo? Quizá puedan seguir tus pasos.
So I think first of all, the important thing is not to follow my steps, but to get past them, is to improve on what I was lucky to do. I think, and I know there's a lot of entrepreneurship here, so I'll give you a few lessons from my experience in entrepreneurship. The most important lesson I can give is entrepreneurship is based on passion. And it is not a science. It cannot be mathematically computed. Don't try and do that. You almost have to be a little crazy to be an entrepreneur, because if you were sane, you would know the likelihood of success is so low, you wouldn't do it. But it's insanity and passion are very closely related, right? So you need to be insane enough and passionate enough to really want to do it, even if the sane people say it's likely to result in failure. The second thing is that as an entrepreneur, you need to think from the heart and not from the mind. And by that I mean, put yourself in the shoes of the people who you're trying to sell the product to. It's as I say, it's more the empathy quotient rather than the intelligence quotient, EQ more than IQ. And because a lot of people, and I'm guilty of the same, is we think of the technology first before we think of how it's going to be used, and I think that's the wrong thing to do, right? And now, because the technology is available, it's so easy for us to leverage cloud computing and other services that we should focus more and more on what, not the how, right? And that's a really important lesson for me as well, which I would encourage any entrepreneur to keep in mind, right? That is, A, do it based on passion, not for the love of money. Do it based on because you want to have an impact in the world, and B, do it from the heart, which is trying to understand how you're going to make people's lives better rather than what technology you're going to use to make it work.